Welcome back to Bet Legends. It's Kyle and Beau from KB Betting. Happy to have Brian on today from PanoPick. Brian, how we doing?
What's up, Kyle and Beau? Super pumped to be here. Pumped about the show. I think this is going to be a really great show for people. So excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, happy to have you here, man. You think, you're doing some incredible stuff with the PanoPick app. Want to talk about that? You got the 10K challenge going on. The app itself just seems to be blowing up. Cappers all over Instagram, social media. Everyone's kind of taking part in it. We love to see it. I think it's almost revolutionary what you're doing. So tell us a little about what you got going on, the 10K challenge and things like that.
Yeah, thanks. That's really what we're trying to do. You said the word revolution, and that's really what we're trying to do at the end of the day. I mean, as you probably know, and a lot of people watching know, the sports betting industry is very, there's a lot of just shady stuff that goes on in the sports betting industry. And 99% of people just aren't really telling the truth about, their winning percentage, or they're not transparent, or they're trying to suck you into bad bets, or they're trying to sell you bad picks, or whatever it is. And, really what we're trying to do with PanoPick overall and is build a community of people that are committed to transparency, committed to winning, committed to keeping sports betting fun, and ideally giving people more, helping people make more money than they had to start. So really with the 10K challenge, like you mentioned, it's just bringing together a group of cappers who've had like a lot of success on our app and others that have had a lot of success tracked elsewhere, and just putting them all in one place, putting them all in one newsletter. Betting all their picks. So it's really like, the best analogy I could give is it's like diversification and investments. So like, obviously if you buy one stock, it can go in a lot of different directions, right? But if you have a diversified portfolio that exposes you to the market more broadly, ideally you're going to get, good returns no matter what happens. So that's really what we want to try to pull off with sports betting, is to bring together a group of elite cappers who have a track record of proven success and send that out to people, all for free, because ultimately like that creates wins for everybody. And that's what we're all about, is creating those winning opportunities for everybody. And obviously it's sports betting. So you can have losing days, you can have losing weeks, and you can have losing months. And we absolutely will. But we were lucky enough to get off to like a 7-day in a row winning start, which is crazy. I don't remember the last time I had 7 winning days in a row. But it was great. I mean, it's just, and we obviously lost yesterday. It was our first losing day, which, it's funny. Like it's more painful losing when we send out picks than it is losing, more money. Like, cause I obviously lost money. I bet all the picks, right? And I lost like $500 in the day yesterday, but I've lost way more in a day sports betting. And it was just particularly painful watching the picks losing that we sent out. There's a different feel to it. There's a different sweat when you send picks out to people. And I'm sure you guys know that. As people that send out picks, you feel a different sense of accountability and responsibility to people. And if you have a conscience and you're a good person, like you guys are, and like a lot of people we work with are, it's a challenge to send out picks, because you just want them to win so badly. You just really hope that people do well with them. And it's particularly tough when you see. I think we actually lost, like, of the picks, the games that ended, we lost, I think, 9 in a row. We reverse sweep to like 9, and it was crazy. I was watching it just horrified. I was like, oh my God, how are we losing so many games? We had the Knicks yesterday, and Knicks money line. Obviously they were up 28 and they completely blew that game. I mean, if we picked a team yesterday, they just managed to blow it in one way or another. But yeah, man, it's a lot of fun. I really think we're on to something, and it's just the beginning, really. Ultimately, it's, like I said, it's about just creating that space for winning bettors and transparency and all that stuff.
Absolutely. And, thank you for sharing all that. We really appreciate what you do. And, I always tell Kyle, it's like a rush to get to PanoPick's page. People really want to be on your platform. And I think that speaks, to the hard work you've put in and what you've built in terms of a transparent community. Like you said, there's some shady people in this business. So trying to make it as fun as possible is definitely really the goal that we strive to go to. So
absolutely totally on the same page, and appreciate all you guys do too. I mean, you guys really do a great job to do that for people. So it's just, like I said, it's great to work with people like you both. That's been one of the best joys about working in this, is that, like, as many shitty people as there are in this industry, there's a lot of really good people too, and it's fun to find those people like yourselves.
Definitely. Thank you. We appreciate that. Heavily relate to, sending out those bad picks. There's those mornings where you wake up, like, for me, like, a game could be going bad and I'm just like, I'm going to go to bed. I can't watch anymore. You wake up and you see you sent out an 0-4, and it's just the worst. It's the worst feeling.
It's worse than losing. I mean, like, I lost my own money, obviously, but it wasn't the money that I lost. It was like the feeling of, like, holy shit, like, I hope no one tailed us, and obviously in general, like I think we have winning picks and I think that you'll make money long-term tailing us. But when you have those losing days, I'm like, holy shit, like I really don't want people to lose money. Like I really want people to win. So there's that added pressure, which is just crazy.
If we can we just like go all the way back to like, how did you start this app? What's kind of like your background? Are you like, do you have a background in app design, web design, things like that? Betting in general? Like, just give us the whole lowdown if you can.
Absolutely. So no, I don't have my background. I went to Harvard Law School back in the day. Graduated with a law degree. I have no technical background really, so this kind of came about. It was a long series of events. After law school, I was trying to start, and it was a critical thinking education company and like another technical platform for like basically crowdsourcing politics, like helping people, start political movements, whatever their politics were, just helping them like, do grassroots politics essentially. And as I was doing that, I was super broke. So I had always been good at poker. And I was like, I wonder if I can kind of pursue my passions and play poker, on the side and make money, and make enough money to sustain myself, sort of work full time on my passions and play poker part time. And it just started working. So, that's how I've made, that's kind of how I got into gambling in general. I always was good at poker. And then, there were various iterations of the technical stuff I was doing for work. We were doing like misinformation in politics, but really that's kind of my passion in general, is like fighting misinformation, because obviously it's a big problem in the modern world nowadays that you just have a lot of people, whether it's Facebook, Google, bad actors, whatever, like they're promoting misinformation. And it's really hard to get quality information that's reliable, truthful, reasonable, helps you actually accomplish whatever goal you have ultimately, right? And we were doing that, fighting political misinformation. And as we were doing that, I realized it would be a better place to start with consumer misinformation, fighting consumer misinformation. And what a better place to start than the gambling industry, because there's just so much misinformation in the gambling industry, especially the sports betting community. Because really, ultimately, like a lot of people profit off the current status quo, which is just the sports books putting out bad information, cappers who sell picks, inflating their win percentages. They all kind of come together to create this really toxic noise that's hard to separate from. And again, like I think that's really how we got into this, is that I was like, oh, well, I should combine my interest with, fighting and misinformation with my love and skill in gambling. And that's basically how PanoPick was born. So it's been a long sort of meandering journey to creating this app in different ways. And I'm lucky enough to have a team of developers who I work with that handle all the technical stuff. I just kind of tell them, what needs to happen, and it just happens. So I couldn't tell you, I can't write code. I do a lot of the rudimentary designs, but like my art is terrible, so someone always fixes it. That's definitely not my skill set, but yeah, I mean, it's been a long journey to getting there, but really, I'm just really excited about where we're at. I really think we're turning a corner here. I really think that the industry is ripe for disruption, and we can be at the center of that.
No, it's a really awesome upcoming to leading to where you are today. Now, I just kind of wanted to ask you, how long has PanoPick been around, and when did you really start to feel like you had something coming?
Yeah, so it's really, I mean, we started with the sports betting version of the app, the PanoPick version of the app, probably less than a year ago. So, and we had a lot of technical issues from the jump. Just app development, we were doing websites before, and app development's a lot more complicated than web development. So, really, in its modern iteration, it's only been fully functional in the way I wanted it to for a couple months. Like we've had just figuring stuff out. It's just development is challenging. So I really feel like, again, like we're really getting into a new spot, or sort of entering a new era, because a lot of when you start, it's just beta testing, right? You're like, oh, this feature broke, or this button needs to be here, or whatever it is, or this just doesn't work for people. This is confusing. Because you think, I mean, part of app development is you think something's going to work, and in your head it makes sense, and then you show it to 10 people and none of them understand what the hell it is. They're like, I don't know what this button does. I don't know how to post my picks. Where are the odds? Like, what's happening? So, you can't just do that. You can't just armchair this. You have to really put this in front of people and have them use it and have them give you feedback. So I think we're kind of passing that initial beta testing feedback era and really entering into this sort of era we can really take off. And yeah, I think this is just kind of a new era for us. So I'm excited about that, where it can go.
Does it feel like almost perfect timing in a way with just sports betting and, it's becoming legalized more and more. We see it. We're seeing like stadiums incorporate it. Beau lives in New York. I think, are you in Vegas? Is that where you're at?
I'm actually in Hoboken. I'm outside of the city. Yeah.
Nice.
So we should get together sometime. We should have like sports betting meetups or something like that. I don't know how they work, but we should.
I'll play some people in New York, man. I've been thinking about that. It's like gotta bring everyone together.
Absolutely. Gotta get the community going in person as well as digitally.
That's when it becomes bigger, I think, too.
100%.
You feel like it's like perfect timing almost. It seems like, you see pages on Instagram, are betting, things like that, where, it's becoming more and more pushed, it seems like, to the audience that might be still on the outside looking in with this maybe negative mindset on it, but it's almost becoming more common.
No, 100%. And I'll say that, like, again, a lot of the people that are pushing it, to be quite blunt, are just not honest. Like, a lot of the people that are like, I see these celebrities and it makes me want to just fucking puke, to be blunt. Like, all them advertising for the sports books, it's just gross. Like, does Jamie Foxx really need more money? Does Aaron Paul really need more money? Does and don't get me wrong, like, I love all these guys. Do the Mannings really need more money? Like, do you guys really need this money? Don't get me wrong, like, I like all of them as people. They seem like nice people. I like their movies. The Mannings were great quarterbacks, but like, what the fuck? Like, why? These sports books are here to separate regular people from their money. Like, that is literally their business model, is to go into people's pockets, take their money, and to encourage people to be degenerates. So like how can you sleep at night going to advertise for them? And that so again, like, I think that's really, you asked, is this a perfect time? Like, absolutely, because a lot of people are going to get sucked in this industry and have illusions of I can hit a parlay that's plus 10,000 too. Like, it's easy. Like, I can pick the score of the Super Bowl 23-20. That seems really easy. Like, plus 10,000, sure. Like, no problem. I'm gonna put like $100 on every score. Like, without realizing how hard it is to hit a parlay, how hard it is to hit a score. Like, how these are bad odds. How long term you're gonna get absolutely crushed betting things like that, because they're not giving you value. There's no value in those bets. A lot of times you have to like literally have the box score to win at those bets. So I think, it really is a perfect time for us. It really is a perfect time, because a lot of people, again, are going to get sucked into sports betting and then get a bad taste in their mouth and leave, frankly. I mean, that's part of the problem, right? Is a lot of this industry's model is sort of like churn and burn people, right? Like, bring them in to sports books, have them bet, capture a percentage of degenerates. Most people quit because they're like, fuck this is dumb, I'm losing money. And same thing with pick sellers, like, get new people in, like the Vegas Daves of the world, right? Hopefully he's not listening, he won't sue me. But yeah, like, those people that are just like churn and burn, right? Like, you send people picks, like, they're picking like minus 1,000, minus 1,200, and people are like, oh wow, he won 6 in a row, because he's picking minus 1,200. Of course he won 6 in a row. You're supposed to win those like 95% of the time, right? So again, like, and then people lose over the long. They're looking at their bank account. They're like, wait, I'm losing money on these picks. Screw this. And then, they get another crop of people and sort of rinse, repeat, right? But that's not a sustainable model. And that's just going to drive people out of the industry and make it a really toxic place. That's just a mix of like, people taking advantage of degenerate gamblers and people lying, which, like, it is now in a lot of ways. So that's, really why I do what I do, is to stem that tide and to change all that.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned that. You're someone that's dealing with transparency. I'm sure you have a lot of situations where people either reach out to you about certain cappers, reach out to you about certain people on your page. I'm sure you have some horror stories. So we'd love to hear some of that.
Yeah. It's funny. Like, I think one of the hardest things in general is to give people realistic expectations. So you mentioned just people reaching out, and like, sometimes I have to give them advice they don't want. So like, someone reached out to me and they said like, hey, I have $200 in one account and $100 in another account. Like, how much do you think I can bet per game? You think like 50 is good? And it's like, well, no, like, if you're betting 50 in a game and you have $300 to your bankroll, like, you will almost certainly lose your bankroll. Like, I can almost promise you will go broke unless you're just replenishing it, right? Like, that's not bankroll management, right? So that's It's hard. It's hard in that way. And in terms of horror stories with cappers, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of what, I obviously don't want to name any names because it's not like, that's not my MO, at least at this point, in terms of like people we've worked with. But I think the biggest horror story is probably, but the names I will name are people we don't work with or people that haven't participated in community. So I'm happy to name names of outright scammers. So like Larry Locks is actually one in particular who's probably the most egregious scammer we've ever kind of outed. And he, he's a guy that does all the classic tricks, right? So he has, I mean, he's just completely, the audacity of this guy is absurd. So he has photoshopped betting slips that he pretends are his. He has fake comments on Instagram from bots. He has, he claims to be interviewed by like CNN, ESPN, NBC. He claims all these absurd winning percentages, like 90%, 80%, this and that. Claims to have won over, millions and millions of dollars sports betting. And after all this, we did like a detailed investigative report on him and everything. And he started sending out messages to people saying that we were scammers and that we had, like we didn't actually have his real picks and that we were lying and blah, blah, blah. So like, it's just crazy to see the links that a lot of these scammers will go to protect their hustles. I mean, hustle is a generous way to call it, to protect their scams. And like, that's a lot of the horror stories have been like that, just dealing with those sorts of people. And I think it's tough because there's so much bad information out there. They can really, get by with these crazy claims and these crazy, oh, I win 90% at this and that. And it's going to take really a culture shift to stop this and to stop this kind of behavior. Because like you were saying, I mean, there's so many new people coming in the industry. If I say that I get 57% of my picks right to a new person coming in the industry, that sounds like I get a D or an F on the sports betting test, right? They're like, why the hell would I bet your picks when you get 57% right? Like I sit there and I watch games, I could pick like 75% off the top of my head, right? And they don't have an appreciation of how fucking hard it is to pick games correctly, and how good Vegas is at setting lines, how close these numbers are. And they have people saying, oh, I get 80%, I get 90%. They're like, oh yeah, hell yeah, I'm going to buy this guy's picks. This guy's getting a B on the sports betting test. This guy's getting an A on the sports betting test. I'm in. So, that's a lot of what we fight against. And a lot of the horror stories are just dealing with those. I can't, like, I have a hard time even understanding how these people, again, how they live with themselves of just like putting out this just absolute garbage, not only taking people's money to buy for picks. So they're people are paying for their losing picks. So they're getting hit twice, right? They're getting hit because they have to pay for these picks and then they go bet them and then they lose. It's like, it's insane that people can live with that sort of as their, like, this is what I do for a living. It's wild to me.
Yeah, I think we're still in that weird kind of time period, and I don't know if we'll ever get out of it, where there's, it's become so big that you now see it on TV, on ESPN. You see pages like BR Betting and things where they're posting these crazy parlays, they're kind of feeding people into it. But then there's this whole like flip side, dark side to it where, people are taking advantage of that as cappers to say, hey, well, you can pay me and you can be good at it yourself. And I think we're just seeing a lot of people fall into that trap where there's kind of like the good and bad side. And I think a lot of people are stuck in that middle ground right now where they're like, maybe I can make money. Looks like I can make a ton of money. Looks like this guy's hitting all his bets. I'll follow with him. When really maybe that guy is really just in it, like trying to steal money from you, in the long run. It's just a crazy world right now. And I don't know if we'll actually get out of it. I think what you're doing, and we'll talk a little bit more about your 10K challenge because I'm really interested in that. But I think just the people you have on board and the people you bring to your app, you see that transparency. That's kind of like the good side of all of this, where there's good people trying to help people. It's a community where, one person doesn't have to win. It could be a ton of us winning. And, it's going to be interesting to see how it evolves as things become more and more legal, I guess, everywhere. And people are kind of getting pushed through the marketing funnel. I'll let you talk on that, but also your 10K challenge. I just really wanted to talk about that. Because I guess that kind of goes into this where, you're putting your own money at stake, which when I saw you post that on your page and, send out these emails, I was like, holy shit, he's putting like 10 grand on, people's picks like us, like Beau and I putting out picks, other pages putting out picks. What was kind of like your sense behind that? And how do you go about like picking which picks you're actually going to bet on?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, part of this is like when I wanted to send out picks, I wanted to make sure that people knew I had skin in the game and that it was like, look, like I'm here winning and losing with you, right? So that's again how I feel better about the whole process is that like as we figure it out, and I don't know. That's the thing is I don't know that we're going to win. Like I don't know that we're going to have a winning month. That's just part of sports betting. Even if these picks are as good as I think they are, we could have losing days, we can have losing weeks, and we can have a losing month. And part of what one of my new things that I think I've been trying to hit is a really good point is that sports betting is not a good short-term investment. It's just not. If you're looking to make a quick buck, if you're looking to double your money, if you're looking to do something like that, just don't. Just find something else to do with your money. But it can be a great long-term investment if you have good picks, right? You can't put that pressure on an individual capper. You can't say like, hey man, give me like I've heard stories of like because I've talked to a lot of these cappers and someone calls them up and they're like, hey man, I need like an extra 10K to buy a car and I have about like 10K to my name. Give me the one lock, like the pick that's going to win today. And like, and they're sitting there saying, no, like don't bet all the money you have in the world on any one pick. Anyone that tells you that is insane. Like there's no such thing as a lock. And, that's part of what I want to do with putting up my own money is to show people, look, like you're going to win and you're going to lose and it's going to be kind of all over the place. There's going to be a lot of variance in the short term. And that's just the reality of it. And I'm going to show like, it's funny because obviously I don't want to lose and I hate losing, but like there was a certain sense of it's good that we lost because now I can show people what it's like to lose. Like I was when we lost yesterday, I was like, okay, this is great because now I can make a video on like, hey, look, I lost $500 yesterday, and like $500 is not a small amount of money, right? Like you can do a lot with $500. I'm poorer than I was yesterday, right? And that's the reality of sports betting is that that's going to happen like day after day, sometimes for weeks, sometimes for months. And people don't talk about that. People don't show that enough. And that's what I want to show people is like, hey, look, it's all well and good to talk about, our 7 winning days in a row where we started with 10K and now we're at 12.4 or whatever we're at. But here's our losing day yesterday where we went from like 12.4 to 11.8. And everybody who tailed us yesterday, they probably lost too. And like that sucks and that's shitty and that's part of it. And I can't sit here and tell you that you're going to win today with our picks. I can't sit here and tell you you're going to win tomorrow with our picks. I can't tell you we're going to like definitely bounce back this week or definitely bounce back this month. It's just not realistic. And as a person that's played, poker long term, I've and gambled for a living essentially. Like I've seen those, I've had most of my months have been winning, like all of my years have been winning, but I've had a ton of losing days, losing weeks. I've had even losing months, and that just happens. I mean, and I'm super profitable at poker. Like I'm very, very good. And like, I can't, the bets I'm making are like better in sports bets than a lot of ways in terms of like expected value or something like that. But, I'm still losing constantly. And that's really what I want to show with the 10K challenge is like, look, I'm going to put up my own money. I have skin in the game. Like, and I want to do this. And ultimately I want to do this together, right? Because I think it'd be really cool to take a 10K bankroll and just see how it can expand. And that's really my goal is like, I mean, just imagine we can get this to 20K at the end of the year or like 40K at the end of the next year, or, in 3 years we have it to 80K and just sort of follow the progress. And it gives people, and that, that's part of my inspiration is to give people like, hey, look, here's someone betting sports picks like a pro, right? And this is what it looks like. And you're going to watch it go like this, like up and down, up and down, up and down. It's going to be a roller coaster, right? And ideally the roller coaster goes up, right? That's what it's about. But at best, it's going to be a roller coaster up at best. So like, and I want to show people all the ins and outs of that roller coaster and show people, I have all my betting slips, like all these picks are coming in. Like I think DraftKings is richer now yesterday because of my bets. So like it is what it is, and that's just part of it. And I think really just giving people an inside look. Again, it'll give people that information who are coming in and say like, look, if you want to do this, like this is what you can expect. Like just and you could come in at any, you might be lucky enough to come in at that 7-day winning streak, or you might have a shitty enough luck where you come in like a 2-week losing streak, right? And you're just like, you can't find a win. And you're like, why am I tailing this guy's picks? Why do I bet sports? I have to quit betting sports. I have to turn off the TV. Like I should never bet again. You have all those thoughts and it's just like, it's just, you can't sweat the short term that much. And if you're sweating the short term that much, you're going to drive yourself nuts.
No, definitely. And, you hit a lot of really good points there. And I think there's something about having that losing day after being really hot, especially for people that are kind of new to the page. They're like, what's going on? Is is this real? You know, they keep winning every day. So when you have that losing day, it's kind of like, hey, like we lost money too. Like, obviously, you know, it's so hard to be, you know, like you said, if you're 57%, you're doing really good, like really good. And these people boasting 80, 90, it's just like so unbelievable. Hard, you know, how could you be that accurate every time? So, you know, I think it's those losing days definitely show a lot. And, you know, it builds a little transparency. You know, obviously we'd love to have winning days every day. If we could never lose again, we'd love that, but it's just not realistic. So I can't really get caught up in the bad few days, bad week, bad month, like you said. That happens. It's kind of just the life of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's, you know, again, I just showing people that and showing people like, look, people can say they pick 80 or 90%, but I promise you they don't. I promise you it's impossible. And I promise you if you track their picks over the long term, you will see that. And no one can show those results. No one. So like, you know, show me the receipts, right? And these are sports gambling receipts, and this is what it looks like when it's real. So giving people like the difference between like, oh, this guy is real versus this guy who like posts a pic of like him betting 100K at a casino, and he never shows the cash or never shows he shows a ticket that can be very easily photoshopped, right? Or like shows a streak and never, but all the pics out coincidentally come out after the games, right? Oh, I won my VIP. That's another common trick. My VIP won, but we lost. And it's like, and don't get me wrong, it's possible, right? But a lot of scammers do that. They're like, yeah, my free picks went, 0-18, but my VIP, we hit our 28 whale plays, and everyone who tailed me yesterday made $100,000. Like, oh, we hit 17 parlays. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, where are these picks? Like, if you could bet at that success level, you would have no book to bet at. They would have shut you down. And that's another thing people don't talk about is books shut you down. And certain books more than others. But like, I can't bet on MGM. I cannot bet. Like, I can't get more than like $20 on a player prop and like $100 on a straight wager. Like they just cap me. And it's the same on Unibet. It's the same on Fox Bet. There's a few that cap, and like, it's just, they don't want you to win, so it is what it is.
Yeah. I always find those things funny, and it's sad truth that people fall for that still nowadays. And I think it kind of almost goes into this perfect timing part where there's so many new people coming in, and it's so easy for these scammers or, these big celebrity names, unfortunately, if you have a big following on Instagram now, it's kind of like you can get people's money pretty easily. You can say, buy my premium package and, we're winning all the time, this and that. And you even mentioned it before, they're giving out, minus 1,200 plays, minus 600 plays. And some people really don't know, what winning is in the long term. And unfortunately, I think you also mentioned just people see it as like a short-term investment. People want to just get rich quick, bring money to the table, leave with more than they had. And that's really not sustainable in the long run. It's more like bring your money to the table, leave it on the table. And if you do things right, it'll grow. I also wanted to just ask you, I know, I think it's just interesting, your experience playing poker. It almost kind of just like, it's almost like a Dan Bilzerian like vibe a little bit, like got so good at poker. Now you're just kind of like doing your PanoPick thing. And, what's kind of like some stories you have behind that? Do you have any like crazy betting stories? I think I saw you and Sally get together one time. I know Sally goes crazy in the casino, and a lot of respect for him and what he does. He's very transparent as well. But, anything like crazy that's just been, life-changing or blows your mind that, this industry has kind of brought to you?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have some crazy stories. So I can just, first I'll tell you the story, the most I won in a day. So I was playing a poker tournament on World Series of Poker, their website. It was an online World Series of Poker event. It was 1K buy-in. And I started doing really well. It started at like 4 p.m. And by like, I don't know, like 4 a.m, I'm sitting there at the final table. And first place is like 250K. And, it's just at a point where the most I've won in a day in poker is probably like 30K or something. So like, and obviously 250K is a massive amount of money, right? Like it doesn't matter. I mean, you have to have like, fuck you, like Drake kind of money where you're throwing down like 500K on the Super Bowl to not think 250K matters, right? So it's a fuck ton of money. It's 4 a.m. I'm sitting there like completely bleary-eyed, exhausted, like playing for more money than I ever have in my life. And I end up getting down to the last two with like the chip lead. And second's like 150K and first is like 250K. And I end up like making a couple of mistakes, plays I wish I had back. And I ended up losing to this guy heads up. And I won 150K, and I'm telling my friends, they're like all super pumped, they're super jazzed. They're like, oh my God, you won 150K. That's amazing. I'm like, yeah, but really should have been 250. Like, I'm pretty frustrated right now. Like that 100K would have been like super fucking nice to win that extra 100K. So it's weird. It's a weird feeling. It's like, I'm trying to find a sports betting analogy. It's like it's like if you bet a team to win the conference and you bet them to win the Super Bowl, right? And you cash the ticket for them to win the conference, and then they're in the Super Bowl, and you're like, come on, win the Super Bowl. You have more on the Super Bowl, and they lose the Super Bowl, and you're like, damn it, like I really wanted that extra money, right? Because the money's already in your pocket. That's the weird mental thing about it, is you start to anchor to that moment. You're like, okay, I already have this money. It's like when you win and you have a winning day yesterday, and then you lose like a quarter of it back. You're like, damn it, like I had more yesterday. It's just the sort of like mental anchoring that's really tough in betting. So that was an interesting story. Do you want good story? You want losing stories too? Because I have plenty of those too.
Yeah, give it all.
All right, so I had a really good NFL draft this year. This is actually a public service announcement. One of the most exploitable events to bet, maybe the most exploitable, is the NFL draft in terms of the books are bad at setting lines for that. So, the draft I've particularly crushed the past few years. Last year I made like 30 or 40K on the draft, and I was having a huge fight with my now ex-girlfriend, and I had all that money sitting in my account, and I started. This is so stupid, but I started betting. Like my unit sizing is anywhere from like 500 to like 2,500 or 1,000 to 5K, depending on like what I'm doing for my bankroll. But I started betting like 10K on like quarter unders, over unders, which if you've ever bet a quarter over under, it's like the most random shit you can bet on. I mean, it's just like, don't get me wrong. Like there's a method to it. And like, there's reasons certain quarters go under and certain quarters go over, and you can find value, but like in an individual quarter, so much random shit happen. And I usually bet quarter unders just because they're usually, the totals like usually little inflated. But for some reason I was so tilted and frustrated, I started betting overs. And it was the Maverick. It was a random game that I wasn't even watching. I had no feel for the game flow, no feel for what would happen. I just was like, I need to make money to make myself feel better. And I had 10K on the quarter, and I remember it was the over, and I needed 3.5 more points. I needed 4 points, and there was a minute left. I got down to 30 seconds, and there were like basically 2 possessions left. And the Mavs hit a 2, so I needed a 1.5. And I remember, Cavs have the ball. There's like 17 seconds left. Colin Sexton drives up to the basket, and for some reason, the Mavs are up 20, mind you. And for some reason, they're playing defense, which still to this day, I do not know why they were playing defense. I don't remember who it was that was playing defense. I never blame a player or get mad at a player, but God damn it, that was frustrating. But anyway, Colin Sexton goes up for a layup to give me the win, and someone kind of bumps him. They don't call the foul because the refs want to go home. Everyone wants to go home. And the ball, rolls, does one of those like in and out things. And I'm like, what? And the Mavericks get the rebound and dribble out the clock. And I'm like, what am I doing with my life? I hate myself right now. So that was a particularly, I think I lost. So of the 40K I made on the draft, I lost 30 back that night. That was my worst. That was the worst gambling day I've ever had. So another public service announcement: don't fight with your girlfriend or ex-girlfriend or significant other in sports bet, because that is probably the worst time to bet.
Yeah, definitely. When my head's not clear, whatever's going on, I'm just like, I can't even really find that play I really truly desire. So 100% relate to that. And I also wanted to ask you, thank you for those stories. Definitely the 150K, we could obviously understand, wanting 250, when you have more and you can see more, you're always looking for that extra. And losing story, thank you for that. I wanted to ask you, what is your favorite, whether it's a prop bet, what's your favorite kind of play to go for?
Yeah, I guess I kind of grew up with fantasy sports, so I got into sports betting more through prop bets. So I still kind of have that love for prop bets, and I find them particularly fun just because you can get a lot of value on them you can't get on regular bets, which is why books cap how much. I mean, if you ever tried to like really hit a book on a prop bet, it's hard to get more than like 1K down on a prop, because usually they're inefficient markets, right? So like, especially week 1 of the NFL season when they have no clue like who's getting, or early on in an NBA season, or even actually in NBA playoffs when rotations change. Those can be a lot of fun because you can get like an exceptional amount of value on those that you can't get, because you're never going to get like, 7 points on a spread or something like that for a game. Like, you're just not going to get it. Like, they're going to be lethal with those spread lines. I mean, they're going to be close. I mean, they could be off by a point or two here or there, but like, player props, they can be off by, 30, 40%, right? Based on an injury. For example, there was one I had this year where Zach Moss kept being a healthy scratch for the Bills, sort of in and out all year. And they scratched Zach Moss against the Saints, and I saw Singletary's rushing yards, and I had the little Twitter update where Zach Moss got scratched, and I went quickly to go bet Singletary's rushing yards, and I got it at over 23, and it closed at like over 32, which, again, to someone that doesn't understand or hasn't sports bet a lot, doesn't seem like much, but that's the Grand Canyon in sports betting. If you could do that consistently, you'd be winning more than anyone in the world. And you can't do that consistently, to be clear. Like, you're not going to find that much value that often where you're getting a guy at 23 rushing yards, who's closes at 32. But I just like those bets. I mean, it's just nice to know that you're on the right side of something with the book, because it's so hard to be on the right side. I mean, most bets are going to be losing, and that's the reality. That's another thing people don't talk about, is that, like, if you look at a sports book in any given day, most of the bets on there, if you put them in, you would lose. Like, you would get crushed, right? Because you're not only playing against the VIG, but you're playing, you're playing against the fact that you're not going to win most of your bets, right? If you're just betting randomly. So, it's just, you can't find value in a lot of places, and that's what it's all about. It's like sticking to discipline, having a system, putting in a limited number of picks a day, and not just trying to be like, well, I want to win money, or I want to rush, or I want to feel something, or whatever you want. If you want to feel something, or if you want to make money and you're having that feeling, just don't bet. Because I've done it more times than I care to count, where I'm just like, that was fun. Like, let's run this back on this game I have no idea about. Like, I spend like 3 hours researching a game, and I find a really good angle, and I got a really good player prop, and I got a really good spread bet, and they win. I'm sitting there, and like the night game's coming on. I'm like, I have no idea what's going on in this game. Like, I don't know their rotations. I haven't studied their recent, wins and losses. And then I'm like, but you know what? I'm gonna bet the first quarter under, because fuck it. Why not? And then I lose, and I'm like, why did I do that? I just lost half my profits back for the day. So a lot of this is just not shooting yourself in the foot. That's a lot of betting successfully.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned all that, because I think that's a lot of things people say they don't do, but I think all of us do to some degree. Is, you kind of chase that high a little bit. Once you get hot, it's almost like, let's just keep the ball rolling. Let's keep going. In the back of your head, you're like, I know this isn't right, but let's see what we can do. Sometimes it works out. Most times it doesn't work out.
Oh yeah. No, I do all the time. I think I like to say that I'm the most unsuccessful bettor ever, because I have so many like leaks or bad habits in sports betting where, like, I'm like, what, man, I make good money at betting, but like, if I just didn't do all these stupid things, I would make so much more. And that's part of like why even something like the Bankroll Challenge is great, because because most of my money has come from poker, and then and sports betting I've always made money at, but it's been like a side thing. But this is making me approach sports betting in that systematic way, like I approach poker, which is just like religiously like, no, I have a unit size. I don't care if I really like a play. I don't care if I love a play. I don't care if it's the best play in the world. Like, my unit size is my unit size, and I'm not going above that. And if you can stick to that sort of mentality, then you'll just do so much better in the long run.
Is this what you do full time? Do you do anything else like on the side, or is this pretty much your main priority, is just PanoPick and just gambling in general?
Yeah, no, this is full time for me. So, my businesses and my companies have always been full time, and I've always been a part-time gambler to support my entrepreneurial habit. So it's funny, my gambling supports my other habits, not the other way around. So it's just yeah, man, this is my full time. So I wouldn't have it any other way. I couldn't be happy practicing law. I realized that pretty early on. So that's just not for me.
It's awesome stuff, man. We really appreciate you coming on. If you want to just give us an update on anything you got going on. I know we've talked about the 10K challenge enough, but anything you want to plug in, we'll tag you in everything that we post, but feel free to just give us an update.
Yeah, I mean, I just think in general, like I said, the 10K challenge is really just the beginning. I mean, I think that ideally this can be a long-term thing where we just start to attract more and more people and really create that community of people that is fully transparent, and people know what they're getting. It's like, I know that if I'm betting these are my expectations in a day, these are my expectations in a week, these are my expectations in a month. I really want to get the numbers down ultimately, and it's hard, but I want to get them down so people really understand, you know, what are the percentage chances you lose in a day? What are the percentage chances you lose in a week, a month? You know, what can you expect to make in a month on average, this and that? What's the worst case scenario? What's the best case scenario? That kind of stuff. So people can really get, and it's hard because you really have to have a good amount of data. But I think, you know, as we get more and more data in, and we can really give people that sense. So that's really where we're going, is just to have that, you know, a very rigorous, clear set of data for people. So anywhere from a casual bettor to a professional bettor can find our stuff useful, because that's really what it's all about, right? It's just having, because winning picks are winning picks, right? Like, who doesn't want winning picks? I mean, it doesn't matter if you're just in it for a day or you're in it for a lifetime. So if we can just create that community, and I think too, I think where we're going, and I think this is, you know, just maybe a change in the industry, is that like old school sports betting is very private. You know, it's very much like, hey, these are my picks. Don't cheat off my paper. Don't look at what I'm betting. I have my own system, and like, screw you, I'm not going to help you. But I think there's a new school that's more collaborative, and that's really where we're going in terms of that spirit. Because if you can have a group of cappers that's winning, I mean, it's great to be a winning capper yourself, but if you can go find 15 other winning cappers and you can bet all those picks, that's way better than being on your own. So that's really where we're going, is to that place of just like, hey, here's a community of people that all win, and they very clearly win, and here's the rate at which they win. So if you bet, you can bet their picks individually, you can bet them collectively, or you can just take one and, you know, there's a game you want to see, you just want to see what they all think about this game, that works too. So that's really where we're going ultimately, is to that sort of place.
Oh, thank you for that, man. And we really appreciate, you know, PanoPick. We appreciate yourself. We're really excited to see, you know, how far you're going to go. We know it's just taken off, obviously. You know, you've been on your grind. So really excited to see everyone coming together, looking to be collaborative. And, you know, your page is a huge platform to that. So thank you. And thanks for coming on Bet Legendz today. It's been a pleasure having you. Kyle and myself are, you know, super excited to have guys like yourself on this platform. So thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you both for all the work you do. I just want to say, you know, from the very beginning, I've been in the gambling world long enough to know the difference between people that are committed to transparency and people that are just kind of bullshitting. And it was just awesome. People were like, you know, my friends were like, oh, which cappers do you like so far now that you've been doing Instagram research? And I always was like, oh, KB betting's great. Like, every day they're out there, win or lose. And that's what it's really about. Like, I don't like, it's just, it doesn't matter if you win or lose at sports betting. It matters that you're transparent in so many ways, right? Because that gives people the information, and then they can tailor or not. Like, I've had people on our site, like, I've had people buy picks from someone who was down on all-time units, right? So but they get to see, like, that's fine. Like, if you want to buy, like, and maybe they're good at a certain sport, or maybe it doesn't really, ultimately it's about the transparency, and you guys are committed to that, and you guys do a really wonderful job of that. So, you know, obviously, changing, it's just, you guys are like the change in the industry we need. So I appreciate all that.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I think from the beginning, Beau and I quickly realized that there's almost this community of people that are like a lot like us, and we, you know, whether it's sharing picks or just sharing information, data. The funny thing is, Beau and I just like slap our faces on everything, because we just want it to be like, this is us, this is what we're betting, this is what we believe in, instead of just being someone, you know, kind of hiding behind a screen. We know you do the same thing, but, you know, I see all your videos and things like that. You're putting your own money on the table. So I think that helps a lot. You know, when people see that and they see, all right, these guys are real, I can probably go look them up on Google and go to their house if I lose a ton of money. You know, I think that kind of transparency helps. I don't think, you know, we say we're experts, but maybe we're not always experts. So it's good to have that community base where we can talk to other people, talk to people who are transparent like us, like you, and kind of get that, you know, where we can all win at the end of the day. It doesn't have to be one person winning. You know, it can be a community thing where we're all making money and we're all being, you know, good cappers at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? Like, I don't care if you get your picks from like the changing of the cycles of the moon, or like the tides, or like whatever. If they're winning, right? And it's just like, everybody has their own process, everybody has their own system, and it's about having a good system and a good process and getting better. And ultimately, like, part of the best way to get better is to admit that you don't know everything, to admit that you have leaks, to admit that, you know, whatever, like, you know, sometimes my NFL spread picks are off, or like, oh, I randomly bet these totals that are not good bets, or I have this habit of betting over my units, or I don't do bankroll management well, or whatever it is. We all have leaks. We all have, things that we can improve on, and we can all benefit from each other in this community. So just, super pumped about the future, because I think the industry is going to look very, very different in the next 5 years, depending on how successful we are or not. And I think we can really, be the change that needs to happen in this industry. And I'm excited about that.
It's exciting stuff, man. Well, we appreciate you coming on. Download the PanoPick app. Follow PanoPick on Instagram. Are you on Twitter, Facebook, anything?
We are. We're on Twitter and Facebook and TikTok now. Actually, TikTok, it's crazy. I'll just quickly say that if anybody's a content creator, especially in the sports betting community, you should definitely check out TikTok, because we get a lot more organic engagement there. It's hard because you get choked off on Instagram and Twitter a lot of times, and people don't see your stuff. And I feel like that's been good for us. So, if anybody, I think every platform is as good as each other in some ways, but it's nice to have people seeing the hard work you put in. I know how much, hard work you guys put in. I know how much a lot of hard work a lot of content creators put in. So I'll just also say we're always happy to collaborate with people like yourselves and that are committed to transparency and helping the industry. Because again, so if you ever want to reach out on social media, reach out to us, because we're always down to partner with people that are good people.
Yeah, we've been trying to get on the TikTok game for a while now. We haven't done it yet, but hopefully soon. I think it's definitely a powerful tool if you use it right.
You should do it, man. I mean, it's just literally like, if you can create, you kind of create like platform neutral content, and then you spread it out everywhere. That's I think one of the best ways to do it, because you can just repost, and ultimately it's about, getting eyeballs on the good work you're doing. So
yep,
wherever it happens, it happens.
Awesome. All right, man. Thanks again. Really appreciate it. We'll be in touch.
Sure.
We'll do something again soon.
For sure. Thanks, guys. It was a real pleasure. And, like I said, appreciate everything you do. And thanks so much for having me on. It means a lot to just be part of the early process. I know you guys are, figuring it out with a new show, and it means a lot to be an early guest. I know how serious that is to start your own thing. So thanks for having me on. It's really an honor. So thank you.
Yeah.